It's been a long month. At the start of the month, the Irish travel trade was talking about a hit on the Asia bookings and perhaps the cruise bookings. The aviators, the leaders of the 5 major European airlines, when they got together in Brussels on March the 3rd, they were talking about a little bit of a hit at the end of the first quarter. They were hopefully making it to Easter, and then things would improve. The real damage will be done to European aviation. That's a very, very big implications for the scale of the refunds that will be sought by consumers. Under the law, when coronavirus broke out, customers are entitled to refunds. The bills that they will be facing are enormous, especially the long-haul carriers. Lufthansa are looking at something like 3.5 billion. IAG, which owns British Airways, Iberia and Aer Lingus, are looking at 3 billion. Air France, KLM looking at 3 billion as well. About 780 million for EasyJet, and maybe 740 million for Ryanair, who carry more passengers, charge a slightly lower average fare. Air France are talking about offering the refunds after 1 year. One of the English airlines is talking about after 2 years. And of course, all of them are looking to vouchers as a solution. Aer Lingus are offering 110% of the fare price. The Irish travel trade between tour operators and travel agents is worth €1.4 billion. They're also facing these customers demanding the refunds. They don't have the money. The airlines, the suppliers, the cruise lines have their money. They're unable to give it back. It's taken a little while for realisation of the scale of this problem to get through. It hasn't happened yet, but at least dialogue is taking place in several European countries. As these airlines look for state aid, Alitalia very spectacularly renationalised by the Italian government. Even Norwegian was getting state aid. IAG looking to the British government, and Lufthansa, a big critic of state aid, looking to the German government. The French are saying it's not a matter of renationalising Air France, but they're also looking at a deal between the Dutch and the French governments for state aid to Air France KLM. Overnight, Virgin Australia got a big state loan. Qantas objected to that, having got a state loan themselves. Connectivity has collapsed. Dublin is down to 25 flights in each direction today. Belfast City, Cork and Shannon have 1 flight a day. Donegal and Kerry have 1 flight. It's the PSO service route to Dublin. Belfast International and Knock have no traffic. Repatriation flights are still coming in. 2 of Dublin's flights today were repatriation flights. One was to Denmark and the other one with LOT to Poland. And repatriation is a live issue. Malaysians have joined Qatar among the heroes of repatriation. They've put extra flights onto Australia and, crucially, 10 flights to New Zealand, which was not as well served as Australia for getting people home. Qatar have put extra flights on, in addition to the 4 they have scheduled to Dublin in the coming weeks. And we have those crucial links to Chicago, Boston and New York, 1 flight a day from Aer Lingus. Otherwise, it's 3 or 4 flights each from Ryanair and Aer Lingus to Britain. We also have some in France, some in Germany, Amsterdam, Brussels and 2 cities in Switzerland. Change policies in the cruise line. A big development today, Royal Caribbean. They have a pretty generous one for waiver of change fees. They've pushed that to July the 30th. It means that up to 48 hours before you're sailing, you can change for any reason. And a bit of traction for another debate. Close the borders, close the airports, getting a fair bit of airplay in the last 2 days. This is very strange because we have 5 flights in the air to and from Beijing from Aer Lingus A330s bringing home medical supplies. We have a radiologist, a couple of registrars and an oncologist all saying close the borders down, close the airports. Obviously this will mean that medical personnel and equipment cannot get on and off the island. On the other side of that debate, we have the European Health Commissioner, Stella Kyriakides. She says closing the border is ineffective and counterproductive. And of course, the World Health Organization, Mike Ryan, originally from Sligo, Bruce Aylward and Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, they say that closing borders does more damage than the epidemiological disaster in the first place. And they've a bit of experience of this, having come through H1N1, SARS, Zika and Ebola. Tomorrow, April, brings a new month with the same old problems. How close we are to resolving them remains to be seen.